everyone, my name is Lorena. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I will be talking to you about my successful VBAC journey. My firstborn, her name is Juliet, she's 2 years old, and my newborn is 3 weeks old, her name is Penelope. For my first pregnancy, I didn't really have any fears. I didn't think it would end up in a C-section. I didn't really research how to have a successful vaginal birth. I was just very trusting that my body would know what to do. And I was trusting of my OB, trusting in the hospital. But then when it didn't end up the way I wished it had, I felt very upset and robbed and disappointed. So I was induced by choice. I did dilate to 10 centimeters, but she was stuck at the hip level. And so even though I was pushing, she wasn't coming out, and I had really bad labor pain. I just couldn't take it anymore, and her head was swollen, her heart rate was dropping, and I think I pushed for an hour, and the doctor just said it's better if you have a C-section, and so we did the C-section. So a year and a half later, I got pregnant again, and I knew I wanted to have a vaginal birth. I wasn't really familiar with the word VBAC, vaginal birth after C-section, but after doing some research, if it was possible, what it took, I saw that yes, it really depends on your OB whether they do it or not. And so I went back to my original OB, and she said I had an option. She told me you can do a C-section, you can do a VBAC. However, she recommended that I do a C-section just because I had done it once, and she just thought it would be the best choice for me. At that time, she said I had time to think about it, and I didn't have to make a choice until I was further along, around 32 weeks pregnant. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna think about it. And I really had doubts in me. I knew I wanted to do a VBAC, but I was like, maybe it is the best choice that I do the C-section. And so these doubts were still kind of in me. And it wasn't until week 27 that I went to a prenatal chiropractor. And this wasn't because I was preparing for VBAC. It was actually because for my first pregnancy, I had a right hip pain when I was laying down. So in the night when I was laying down on my back, I couldn't actually stay the whole night on my back. I felt like this aching pain on my right hip, and so I would have to move to my side. And I knew it was something that had bothered me, and in the back of my mind I was like, what if this prevents, if this has some effect on this birth? So I wanted to fix that before going into this birth, whether it was vaginally or C-section. And so I had known about this prenatal chiropractor through a YouTube video here in LA, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna make an appointment, I'm gonna go check him out. And I did, and it was the best thing I ever did. When I got there, he was so warming, he was so nice. He told me what was my first birth experience like, and if I wanted a VBAC. And I said, yes, I want a VBAC. And he said, well, what does your OB think? And I said, well, she gave me an option. She's leaning more towards C-section, but I want a VBAC. And he said, well, if you want a VBAC, I know I have a recommendation for a doctor that will support you 100% with your VBAC if you want. I have a podcast and with an interview of him, and I was like, oh, okay. And so he told me a little bit of what he did on top of trying to fix my hip pain or trying to make an adjustment for my hip. He also his prenatal body work was to prepare the body for vaginal birth, to prepare your lower pelvis for that vaginal birth. And I was like, wow, this is awesome. I guess I can do a vaginal birth. I'm gonna go for this vaginal birth. And he really changed my mindset, or not changed it, but made me confident and made me take that hardcore decision of, yes, I'm doing this VBAC. And I came home, I talked to my husband, and I said, I'm doing this VBAC, I'm changing doctors. And I didn't actually know that you can change doctors so far into your pregnancy. And I even asked the chiropractor, can I change doctors at this point? And he was like, of course you can change whenever you want, and it should be someone that you want. And so I did. My next appointment was my 32-week appointment, which I wanted to keep with my original B because I had a ultrasound scheduled. So I did keep my ultrasound appointment, and I did the ultrasound, everything checked out. And then when I saw my OB, she said, have you thought about doing the VBAC or a C-section? And I said, I think I want to do the VBAC. And I think I might be changing doctors. And she said, well, you know, it's not really going to make a difference if you change a doctor. Your body is kind of what determines it. It's not the doctor. And basically told me that my body wasn't really meant to have a baby vaginally. She told me that it was my pelvis who had an issue, and it wasn't really the experience, the procedure that they had done for my first pregnancy that had gone wrong. And at that point, I just felt very disappointed. She didn't have my back on this VBAC. And so I was like, okay, of course she told me, if you want to change doctors, I'm up for it. Whatever is going to make you feel better, it's your pregnancy. And of course they have so many patients, they don't really care, right? And I even mentioned, well, with you, because at this hospital, they were rotating doctors. So whoever you got in that, at that time when you were in labor, that was the doctor that was going to give birth to your baby. It wasn't necessarily her that was going to deliver my baby. So I mentioned that to her, and I was like, well, it's not like you're going to be there to deliver my baby. So it wasn't really an attachment for the delivery. And she said, oh, well, she actually knew the doctor I was going to. She asked me the name. And so I said, oh, it's this doctor. And he said, oh, I know this doctor. And this doctor is also not going to deliver your baby personally. They also have the rotating doctors, whoever is on call. And I said, no, that's not true. That's not what the chiropractor had told me. He said that he delivers your baby personally. When you're in labor, you call him, even if it's at 3 o'clock in the morning, and he would be there and show up at the hospital to deliver my baby. And so I told her that, and so we just left it at that. I said that I would think about it. I left, I came home, and I told my husband, we're changing doctors. I'm making the appointment for this new doctor, and I did. For my 34th week appointment, I went to see this new doctor who, of course, asked me a little bit about my first pregnancy, not that much. He just said, how long did you push for? And I said about for an hour, and he was like, that's it, just 1 hour. You know, you can push for 4 hours. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I told him what had happened, that she hadn't really come down. And he just said, did you fully dilate? I said, yes. He said, then you shouldn't have any problems. And I said, well, my OB thought different. My OB thought my body wasn't meant to have a baby vaginally. And he laughed and said, well, what are you supposed to do, die? And after that, I was like, I love this doctor. And I was like, yes, he gave me so much confidence. He wasn't concerned at all. He was like, of course you can have this baby vaginally. We're gonna do it. Don't worry about it. This is gonna happen for you. So also one more thing that the chiropractor mentioned to me, if I had a doula, or that I can have a doula at Cedars-Sinai, where I was gonna deliver my baby. And I said, oh, okay. And I came home and I Googled what is a doula, what is a midwife, what is the difference. It was kind of hard because I didn't have that reference. I didn't know anyone that had a doula. And so I kind of just went through Instagram and found a doula. Her philosophy is a more Mexican traditional philosophy, where she also does a postpartum traditional Mexican rituals. And so I was excited because I'm Mexican, and I kind of felt a connection. I kind of felt like maybe not my mom, but my grandmother and my great ancestors had done similar rituals to that. And so I was excited to contact this doula. I didn't interview any other doulas. I just kind of liked her and connected with her, and she was so nice that I just was like, yes, if you can take me at 34 weeks pregnant, I'd be happy. And she was like, of course, and very helpful. Because of her, I learned how to come up with a birth plan. For my first pregnancy, I remember going in and they asked me, what's your birth plan? And I said, to have this healthy baby. And for this time around, my doula sent me a checklist of all the things that you can ask for or opt out from. And I was like, wow, I didn't know I had an option to do this or to opt out from this. What were the pros and cons to opting out or keeping it or having it? And that was really helpful. That was a really helpful resource to have the doula, to know what it was like, what procedures that we're going to do at the hospital, and what I didn't really need. Further along, she came over when to backtrack a little, by the 32-week ultrasound that I had, my baby was breech, and for the 34-week appointment with my new doctor, the baby was still breech. He didn't do an ultrasound, but he can actually just physically check, and he would know whether it was the position of the baby. And so he told me the baby was breech. He said, don't worry about it though. And for 36 week, he told me, when you come back next week for your 37 week, we'll do the ultrasound. And if it's not, then we'll maybe have to do a procedure to flip the baby. Fortunately, I think because of the chiropractic work, and because of my doula, who gave me exercises and told me of different things I can try with the rebozo, with stretches that I did just for that week, the baby was flipped by week 37. I think it had something to do with it, and I was really relieved when I went to my 37-week appointment and my doctor was like, the baby's head down. And I was like, yay, I'm gonna have this baby vaginally. Not that I couldn't have it vaginally, because side note, this doctor also delivered breech babies vaginally, which then he was like, don't even worry about it, even if it's breech. But yeah, I was super excited that the baby was head down and that I was moving along with my birth preparations. So by week 40, I did not have my baby, but again, my first baby had gone past due, and that's why I had chosen to be induced. And so for this second pregnancy, I kind of expected it, and I did go up to 41 weeks and 2 days. I labored at home. I arrived to the hospital 10 centimeters dilated with no cervix. My water broke as I was getting out of the car in front of the hospital door. I went up, they checked me. By the time I got set up, I did ask for an epidural. I was so far along though that they decided to give me the spinal anesthesia, which was fine. From what I read, it's a smaller dosage than the epidural anyway, so I was okay with that. I just didn't have any more energy after having been laboring at home since midnight, and this was now 7 a.m. At the hospital, and I was just like, give me the epidural. I'm ready to have this baby, but I don't know if I can push. And so I made the decision to have the anesthesia. And right after the anesthesia, they got me the anesthesia. My doctor was there. I had called him on my way there. I told him, I'm ready. I'm heading to the hospital. He was there when I got there. They got the anesthesia guy. Well, by 8 o'clock, I was set up to start pushing, and in 3 or 4 pushes, this baby was out, and I was so emotional and happy that it had happened, that I had made it, that we had made it, the baby and I. Yeah, it was a very overwhelming experience. I was just very grateful and very happy that I got what I wanted, and that I had sought a support team that I wanted, the team that surrounded me, which was my OB, my doula, the chiropractor. Those people made the difference. They really made me confident. They never doubted that I couldn't do it. They encouraged me. They told me, don't worry, it's gonna be fine. So I really feel like I had a successful VBAC experience. I'm very happy, and I would recommend that if you really want a VBAC, that you seek the people that are going to be behind you 100%, that are confident, that believe in you, that believe in your body, that believe in the process of birthing naturally, that it is possible to do it. Of course, you can do all the extra stuff, which I did, which was the walking and the raspberry tea to help and the dates and all of that, plus things. But to have the team that I had was crucial, and I would recommend that you seek someone, your OB primarily, that is going to be with you 100%. So don't hesitate to switch doctors. If your doctor tells you at one point like, oh, it's your choice and whatever you want, and then you see them changing their tone and saying, well, maybe not, it's not the best choice, and have, you know, even a little bit of doubt, then if you can change doctors, change it, do it, even if you're 34, 36, 38 weeks. I know there's doctors out there that take you that far along. So do it. Make sure you have somebody that is going to be with you, supporting you, and support your wish of trying to have this baby vaginally or before they push a C-section on you. So I wish you the best of luck in your pregnancy journey and your VBAC journey, and I hope you get the VBAC that you wish for as well.